We're taking this Imperial Stormtrooper 3D model from raw ABS to a screen accurate bucket. Between the sanding, the filler primer and the final gloss, it's a long road to joining the Empire. Let's see if we can make this look like the real deal. We're fighting layer lines and gaps to get that perfect Imperial shine. I'm documenting the whole struggle, so stick around and watch the progress. Grab a mask and come and hang out in the shop while I turn this plastic bucket into Imperial gold. They told me the future would have flying cars. Instead, I'm in my 50s fighting a plastic bucket with a pair of tweezers. This Stormtrooper is already putting up more of a fight than they did in the movies. People my age are out golfing, but I'm here performing a C-section on a Stormtrooper. I don't get these supports off without breaking. I think the only thing that is going to hit light speed is my blood pressure. They don't tell you that 3D printing is a combat sport, but after wrestling the supports of the Stormtrooper helmet, my 50-plus-year-old fingers are officially screaming for mercy. There was this one bridge near the ear cap. I pulled so hard I thought I was going to snap my helmet or my index finger. The support finally gave way. Ooh, okay. Have to fill that in. This shouldn't be too bad. It should be relatively easy to get most of the confection filled in. Ooh, you can see in here, I don't know, when I pull this out, that's just left a huge hole. Another hole got to fill in. The joys of 3D printing. Seriously. Oh, mango. I wonder where that piece went. There you go. And here I was worried about microplastics in the ocean when I'm literally garnishing my morning coffee with the Stormtrooper's earlobe. If you can see in here, a lot of rough bits. You're tidying up, filing. Probably a Dremel. I have a Dremel. It's right over there. It's powerful, it's fast, it's a whole 2 feet away. And at my age, that's a hiking trip. Speaking of, I'm sure this Dremel has Imperial cloaking technology. It's been sitting here for 2 minutes watching me struggle. Ugh. Ugh, you fill in the blanks. My brain's buffering. I don't have the bandwidth for the rest of that thought. And it's gone. That thought just took an early retirement. Moving on. I've got my reading glasses for the detail, my safety goggles for the flying plastic, and my bifocals for when I drop that bit. I look like a mad scientist, but at my age, safety first.
Yeah, so we've tidied up around here, and then again we found another hole that has to get filled in. So we'll 3 holes to get filled in here. Right.
Is it just me, or does this sound like a trip to the dentist? I'm giving this Stormtrooper a root canal. If he wasn't a clone before, he's definitely going to have some dental records when I'm done with this one.
That sanded that really well. I thought I was going to have to fill that up, but managed to sand it.
As you can see, this air sander is a massive time saver. This cuts down my prep time in a big way. It's lighter for long sessions, has better speed control, and doesn't overheat during heavy material removal. Using different layers of grit discs to remove those stubborn layer lines is a must. I start with an 80 grit on my first sand to get those bigger layer lines down fast, then followed by the 180, 240 and then to 320 grit. For some that may be too many a process, but for me it works to get that primer preparation ready for a smooth glass finish. ABS is the filament of my choice that I'm using. It offers better advantages over PLA and other filaments due to the higher thermal stability and chemical properties. However, ABS produces a lot of fine static charge dust. Use compressed air to blow off the prop between grit changes so you don't trap coarse particles under your finer disc.
Alright, so we're ready to continue to get the most fiddly bit, the face mask.
Sanding is usually the part everyone hates. I tend to agree, but with the right air setup it's actually quite a satisfying stage of this build. Unlike PLA, which turns into a gummy mess the second it gets warm, ABS handles the friction from the air sander like a champ. It sands clean without melting back onto the print. The trick here is to let the sander do the work. Don't press too hard, or you'll generate enough friction that at times can actually melt the plastic instead of smoothing it. Here I've come across a thin layer of ABS. Got to be really careful here. I could actually blow this out or sand that hole completely and make it bigger. So yeah, use some caution. Sanding is the make or break step most makers skip. Do the boring work now for the perfect ABS finish. If your paint job does look like a 3D print, it's because you skipped this step. Let's be real, sanding is the part of prop people most hate. It's dusty, it's boring, it feels like it takes forever. But here's the truth, your paint job is only as good as the surface underneath it. If you skip this, you're just making a shiny version of a bad print.
Okay, now we're going to try and fill in these holes that I pointed out earlier on. If you can see that there. And also there. But the one I'm really concerned about is that fairly big one there. Let's go. Now, You might ask, how am I going to fill this in? I'm going to use the actual ABS filament itself. So this here is acetone that I've have aside, mixed in with leftover bits of ABS filament. So the acetone melts this down into a slurry, and you can reuse this as a bonding agent and also as a filler to a degree. If it's too runny, I'll probably have to go through the garbage bin and add a bit more to thicken it up. But let's see how we go. Sometimes you just hope it doesn't keep going all the way into the cavity. It just takes a little bit to fill it, and then to cap it, probably find that once it sets, or it's setting, it'll sink a little bit. If that's the case, just put another layer on and fill it back up. So there. It has filled in a bit better. So we'll let that one sit for a bit and we'll go to the next one. And obviously once it sets, you want to sand it, but gently, because you'll just tear straight through it again, any sort of heat and friction. So I would go back in with a hand grip sandpaper. Definitely no air compressor. So you can see there it's starting to close the gap up, but I've got that deeper hole there. So we'll see how deep it goes. See, so now the air is just formed a little bubble and it's holding that in place. So we'll let that one harden up a bit more and then we'll put a second coat on it. The one that I'm really not looking forward to is that one there, but we'll come to that shortly. A few more minor imperfections down here. I know you're not going to see a lot of it, but that's not the point. I do like to try and do the best I can. You've gone to all this trouble, so let it all add up. Right. Let's see how we go here. I'm going to put a bit more light on it. I'll be right back. Just like that, magic of editing. It is slowly filling up, taking a little bit more filament slurry than I'd hoped, but it sure beats reprinting and doing it all over again. You just got to work out the height to get it to, just a little bit higher than normal, so then that way you've got that room to move when you're sanding it back down again to get that nice finish prop. We'll let that one settle down. I'm hoping there's not many air bubbles, but it doesn't seem to be shifting too badly. And we'll do another coat up the top here. You can see where it has slightly sunk. You've got little divots, but this will build it up nicely. and then we'll give it a quick sand. You won't even know anything was missing. Alright, we'll put that one aside for a minute or two, and we'll have a look at another piece. Just need some attention. This was the one originally when the support came away. It had that bad divot and pull away, so I managed to sand that back, so there's no need to add any ABS filament, which I thought I was going to. In general, I'm happy. That's good. That needs no further work. Where did that come from? Oh. Try and keep your work area tidy too. And let's have a look at the dome. Fairly smooth. Oh, one little divot there. Very minor, but if you don't get your prep surface right when you go to paint, every bit of imperfection is going to show. And being white and dark colors, terrible. You can see originally there where I pulled that massive clump of support off, it did tear away some of the helmet, but thankfully didn't go through to the other side. Right, moving forward, we're going to put the second coats on to the mask, and then we will glue the helmets together. And when you come to cleaning up your paintbrush or your applicators, you guessed it, the only way to remove the filament with acetone is with acetone. So just bits and pieces will be fine. They'll declump it, and again, like new, ready to go for the next time. Right, now for the joining, you can obviously see here we've got two prongs that line up on the other side, so I'm going to join these two first before I then put the dome on. With the join, I'm going to use some glue, Gorilla Glue, to hold in, and probably to reinforce and strengthen this, I'm going to use hot staples to keep that nice and firm, because obviously on off movement it'll loosen after time, and depending on the person, if they keep it in their car, glue again will weaken. So I don't want to have the helmet coming loose. If they use it for a display, great, but if they use it for cosplay, wearing it, I just want to have that real strong durability, long lasting. Let's get to it. Right, medium Gorilla Glue. Gotta love it. Last person to use the glue didn't put the cap on properly, didn't clear it, left a nice mess. That would be me. All that for a bit of glue. It's the welding gun. So the idea is you put your staple into here, into the two ends, and then when you press the trigger, it heats up, heating the staple, and allows you to push and bury it into the helmet. When you do it, when you're pushing in, just give it a slight twist, and that helps, locks it in, and definitely reinforces the grip. A lot better than glue. So let's give it a go. So here we go. And as you push in, you'll get to know and have a feel over time where to stop, so you don't just keep pushing through and out the other side. It will not be good. But yeah, you'll know where to pull up. Practice something first if you're not sure, because again, you'd hate to get this far and just ruin it. And again, we're going to put another one in there. And we'll go to the other side. And a little pro tip for removing these staples is a few people, they get pliers and they get right in and they snip it, but you still have this little edge sticking out no matter how flush you get. So just push down or up to the side and they snap off very easily, and they don't leave any sort of metal bit, so you give yourself a good pinstriping when you put the helmet on. Just give it a bit of a push down, there you go, it snaps off very easily. No need for any tools. Very easy. Here I am saying very easily. You do get one now and again that just doesn't want to play the game. There we go. Now we're going to attach the face and the back of the helmet to the top of the dome. Again, we're going to use some super glue, hold it in place, and I'll put some more welding staples in. Couple extra staples there and there, along with the glue. That's not going to go anywhere in a hurry. Okay, so now we're going to sand off the filament that we've put in, either using grit sandpaper. I'm going to use a 400. This one's a nice easy rubber backing, softer on the hands, and this one's exactly the same course, but for a larger area. You can see where I put that ABS filament in, sanded back quite well. Just keep going gently, but it's still fairly fresh. You can definitely see it's a massive difference there. Sand it down. I want to give that a bit more time before I go sanding that. Alright, I think we're ready for primer. And I'm just going to run a little bit of 600 quickly around the dome. See there? Just any other little imperfections that might have gathered while I was moving the helmet around. And then before we prime it, we'll run a bit of alcohol, just to make sure we get rid of any marks, because that'll come straight through and we don't want that. A little bit of alcohol. It evaporates very quickly, but it takes away all the dust. Now with the primer, a lot of people apply it in different ways. I personally am going to use a spray gun along with my air compressor. I find that I get a lot smoother, even application across the prop. It's also a lot more cost effective if you're doing a lot of helmets or working with cosplay, 3D, etc. So this is the air gun that I'm going to use. The nozzle is going to be 1.4 for the application, so it's not overly thick, but I think it's a good application size for a primer to get a good even spread and coat. Right, okay, for the priming I'm also going to do my smaller bits too, and I find it a lot easier to keep these on your paddle pop sticks because the pressure will just blow them away. I've had that happen before. So, let's go. Just put them on to a little bit of blue tack, and they'll hold very easily. Okay, that's the primer I'm going to be using. It's going to be a ratio of 2 to 1, so you'll mix that with thinner, so they work well together. Now the amount I'm going to use is up to probably 100 ml. And we said 2 to 1, so this is the mixing cup here, so we've got a 2 to messy. We've got a 2 to 1 ratio here, so we've used 100 ml, so we're going to put in 200 ml. Just stir it in nice and gently. We want that good mix ratio. So the pressure we're after, around about 30 to 25 psi. And adjust that if you need it to. Okay. I would like to think that this has come out not too bad. Definitely no layer lines. Come up really good. So tomorrow I will wet sand this, and all going well, we'll paint it. I love this primer because normally you've got to wait 24 hours, 48 hours, but this is very fast acting, and as you can see, the results speak for themselves with this primer, and all that sanding it's coming, it's paid off. So yeah, tomorrow it's another day. Okay, today is the day we paint, but before we do that, we've got to go 2 coats of quick sanding, 1500 and a 3000. So that's the helmet. It's cured, fantastic, no problems. That was the problem that I had with the major hole, so that's all filled in now, so I'm happy with that. So we can just get that bit of a sand off, and let's get to it. So we've got here the 1500, just gets in straight away. You don't need to be aggressive, just nice and firm. You can see the slurry starting to come off, and this is just to really get rid of any of those minor imperfections, because that paint is really going to bring everything up. Okay, so we'll give that a bit of a wipe down. Ooh, nice and silky smooth. You won't really see a lot of difference, but you can definitely feel it. And you can see here where I had all this problem with the filament where it got torn away. You can't even tell, it's all nicely sanded, nice and smooth. So happy days. Just had a thought, just in case that those that have come this far and are interested, the printer I use is a Bamboo H2S. Awesome, hasn't skipped a beat. You're able to get up to those really good high temperatures, enclosure, variable needles. The actual needle that I used for this was a 0.6. It just allows me to go a little bit faster when printing, but the details, obviously the smaller the needle, the finer the details, but not necessarily really a biggie with this kind of helmet. Eventually I do want to be able to print finer details with a resin printer. Don't know a lot about resins, so I'm going to do some research about that. But if anybody can recommend a good starting resin printer for prop play so you can do minor details, let me know. That'd be good. Appreciate it. Oh, nice, very nice. So now we'll just go down another layer of grit in the sandpaper, so the paint will really stick to this well, and hopefully we should have a good result. Let's get down to the next lot of grit. 3000. definitely feel the next layer straight away. Always pays to have a, like I've got here, a little towel, nice good fluffy towel underneath you, so you don't accidentally scratch the helmet. Clean up the mess without making it look like you made a mess. So this now is ready for paint. Finally, the reward comes. So I'm also going to take my air gun and just go over the helmet just to make sure I've gotten rid of any bits of water, dry dust, and then go over it again with alcohol like I did beforehand when we were prepping the raw filament. So we want to prep it again before we go for paint. So I'll spare you the visit of that since you've already seen me do that, but I will go through and show you the paint that I'm using and the mixture again. Before we go on to the paint, I just quickly had a thought that while the mask is drying and you don't really want to risk scratching it further, before you paint we need to get the stencils cut out for the eyes, so we can be working on that when that's drying and curing. So for that, just get a piece of paper and line that up on the inside, and then with a pen you would draw the outline required. Obviously give yourself more on either side, so that way you've got room to work with and play. But having said that, I've already got a few stencils here that I've worked on with different helmets, and I already have one, so I've got the template done, and we'll go into that one a bit later on when we go to cut out the stencil for that. Alright, back to paint. Right, now with the paint I'm using, it's an acrylic lacquer. It's a white gloss. Again with the ratio here, I think I'm going to go with the 2:1, same as the primer. Sometimes I go 3:1, but with the finish of the helmet I don't need to have that extra paint. I think this will go right onto that finish that we have quite well. So we're going to go 100ml and 200 mils of thinner. And here we go, it's the same thinner that I used with the prime. And we'll go to 200 without spilling it this time, or nearly spilling it. Trusty paddle pop. Give it a good mix. Make sure it all bonds well together. This paint's a little bit different than primer, because in that air gun you let it sit a little bit longer, you run a risk of getting that dried and sticky, so then it affects the way the paint's diluted out of the gun. So I will stir it just before I put it into the reservoir to spray, because we don't want any sort of sticky going on if you're in a world of pain. You might ask how I know this. It's happened to me. No fun. Same yesterday. Ideally between 25 to 30 to yourself. Alright, now that we've done the painting and that's drying, we mentioned about the lenses, getting that done. Now with the lenses, it's very easy if you have some pre-cut. So generally what's the trend now is the welder's mask. The welder's shield, where it's, I'll show you. So that's what it is. You buy them in sheets. I just bought them in sheets of 20, packs of 20, and that way you've got them, but I'm a bit tight. I utilise every bit on here. So these are from other masks, as you can see. I've had cutouts from here. So work out what's what. And see where you can save, because it all adds up. But yeah, so that's what it is. It's got the perfect tint. Cut it into shape, we'll hot glue it in, peel the film off both sides. Smith, looks really nice and tidy. But yeah, that's what they come in. They're available on Amazon, Etsy, eBay, but yeah, that's what I'm using. So get into it, get a pen, we'll trace the outline. If you've noticed, I've changed to put a towel down here. I just don't want any extra scratching, because this is what the viewer experiences, so we don't want any scratchy lenses. But yeah, alright, let's get to it. You want something decent. I've got like a pair of snips. You can cut through it with regular scissors, but they'll blunt a lot quicker, so I save this for paper, something a bit more intricate, where these are designed to pretty much chop through anything. So yeah. And also another little tidy up you can do, it's just a little bit of sandpaper, just to smooth out the edges, so it's a bit nicer. Neither here nor there. Right, so that one will be ready to go in. We'll do over the other side. That's really annoying. I'll keep that for something smaller. Okay. It doesn't matter with the stencil, because they're mirrored. You can use the same stencil for the other side, you just flip it around. Right, there we go, done. So we have our lenses ready to go. So we don't have to worry about handling the helmet more than we have to, risking that paint getting scratched. We've just got to go right in, glue it up, and done. So ready for that. Okay, I think that's about all we can do for today. So the next day we'll be assembling. We're on the home stretch. Right, we're going to give these detached parts a quick little sand if they need them, and a bit of coat of paint. So I'm just using these acrylic paints. I don't have a specific brand or favourite, just as long as they do the job. Always make sure you give them a good mix, and mix them with your thinner. Today's a little bit rain out, wet out today, so I might use a little bit more thinner. It's a bit more humidity. But yeah, let's get straight into it. I'm going to use 800 grit, trusty water, and a little bit of sand, and get it ready for paint prep. Nothing fancy, just good spray gun, consistent, and it's got good airflow. Reservoir not too big. Good idea too before you pour paint on it, just to make sure get a good airflow. Right. it into. We put an awful lot of paint in. See? We can take it on for the paint to dry. Rookie move. That's what happens when you forget to put your cap on when you're using the air gun. Get nice paint. Welcome to the bloopers of Airbrush. And I didn't wear gloves because normally this is a piece of cake. I don't know. Today it's just not my day. Alright, we're going to try and paint in here with black, and let's see how much paint I can get over the place this time. Hopefully I get more on the prop than I did myself. Not off to a good start. I don't know what is wrong with me today. I think I need a breathalyzer test or something, but I just can't hold a straight line with anything. Goodness me, let's see how we go with this one. Sometimes a little bit of a tidy up, it's a Q-tip, a little bit of finish. You've got to be careful how much you use, because thinners will take not just the black off, it'll take every bit of paint off. Just apply very minute for where you're not happy. It depends how fussy you want to be. As you can tell, I'm not that fussy at all. Much. I don't know if you can see well enough. I'm struggling. I'm going to put some extra light on. Be right back. That's a bit better. Patience is key. Hello, Mr. Quality Control. How are you? Hey, come here. Hello, how are you? For those that haven't met Joe, this is Joe. I know I get a little bit off track, but he's 13 and he's my quality and control. Hey, he comes and checks on me. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Alright, so now we're going to do the blue on the side of the cheeks there. They're on a curve. Again, I haven't got a stencil yet for Galactic Armory, so I need to get one. Unless somebody has one, let us know, that'd be good. But I'm going to put a like a stencil over the top and see if I can cut in, pull them out, and then go by hand. It just saves paint possibly getting on the white. And if this was a really strong stencil, then I could use a blue, but then I'd have to mask the whole helmet. I'm going to do that for when I paint up here, but it's a little bit intricate, so I want to try and do this one neatly as well. For me, so I don't go splashing blue all over the cheeks. So that's what we're kind of after. Okay, so I put the stencil across with a razor blade, just quickly went and cut them out and pull them out, so that should keep a fairly neat line for any mistakes that I might do with the blue paint. And the blue I'm using is a sky blue. You could ask why I don't mask up the helmet and use my airbrush to apply it. Good question. Maybe it's a lot more work than just doing what I've done here, but depending on the presentation I could still very well do that, but we'll have a look see. The only thing that's suffering here at the moment is I'm putting this acrylic paint on top of another acrylic paint, so it's not grabbing as well as it would on the first coat as it would if it was primed. But once it dries, it should take off fairly quickly. Alright, taking the stencil off. It's not too bad, could be tidier, and the stencil could have been a bit stickier. I did have a little bit come off, but I didn't have the camera on. I thought I did, but very minimal. But all in all, there we go. Not too bad. I think that's a good result. Alright, for the brim now, I'm just taping this off. I'm in two minds whether I will use the airbrush, or do this one by hand, because the other paint by hand has seemed to come up not too bad either, so we'll see. And the tape I'm using is just regular painter's tape, nothing fancy, but obviously we don't want sticky residue to be left onto the helmet, and we don't want it too strong either, that when we pull it off, because it's fresh paint, it doesn't go and pull or, you know, sometimes rip some of the fresh paint off when you remove the tape. I find this rubber paintbrush very helpful. It just helps gets the air out, and it pushes the tape where you want it a lot closer, so that way you've got a better chance of sealing the line so the paint doesn't bleed through. Now, before I paint, I was thinking when I was going along, the only issue I'm going to have is, like I mentioned with the blue here, up here, this is applied acrylic gloss, so the paint is going to take forever to bond and possibly dry. So I'm thinking I'm going to run a wet and dry along here just to help coarse it up, rough it up a bit more, dry it down, and then apply the paint. I'm going to do it by hand. The sandpaper I'm going to use is a 3000 grit. You can see the paint coming off there. taking a little bit to come off because I did put quite a thick coat of paint down because I had durability in mind, and also when I'm finished I will seal this helmet with a semi-gloss so it'll protect the paint and give the helmet a lot of years of life. Okay. Again, I want to just go with the same direction. I don't want to be putting a lot of brush strokes in it. Just keep it nice, same direction. That paint is taking well to the helmet with that pre-sand. It's not running down because it's glossy and wanting to run. You can see here actually, it's this little funny bit here with the white where I must have missed it when I sanded, and the brush just wants to spread and go around it. There we go. I have to put a bit more paint on it to actually go to it, but that's the issue I would have had with that whole band. If I hadn't had sanded it down, it would have just not want to stick, and then I would have been pushing slosh around. Not too bad. Minimal brush strokes, so we want that nice finish. So the last bit of paint to do are the teeth. So we're going to go the dark greys we did on the other accents, and then on the inside I'll probably put some mesh just to stop or reduce people from looking into the mask. So something like that on the inside, and it just helps darken it up and give it that little premium finish. Because these go off on an angle and this is square, we're just gonna do a little bit of a angle cut just here, so that'll be nice and straight when we put that down, and an angle about there. Now the reason I'm wanting to go around all of this with the glue gun is just in case there's any sharp little metal bits. The glue gun will cover and stop these from scratching or possible scratch, because you can't file these down. So I'm just doing this to protect the person's face. While I've got the glue gun out, I'll put in the other bits. In this case, where that glue is dripped, the worst thing would be to wipe it off right now in its hot stage, because you'll just smear it all over your paintwork. It'll dry, flick it off. You can just pick it off in one swift go. Yeah, so don't go and panic and wipe that off, because that'll just smear right into your paintwork. It's drying, it'll just flick off. Right, we've come to the final application. Right. Acrylic lacquer clear. I'm going to put this to about a 1.5 mixture with thinners. I'll probably do about 100 ml and about 150 of the thinners. This should have a nice liberal spray. I'm going to apply the 1.4 with the same spray gun as I have with my primer, my paintwork, so it all seems pretty unified. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so now we're on to the lenses. We pre-cut these out before. There we go. There's a lot of different paddings, pardon me, that are out there and available. You can get these again from Amazon, Facebook, Marketplace, Etsy, etc. But these are nice, padded, veloured, comfortable. So I'm just going to put one on the crown, 2 for the ears, and 1 each side for the back. So 5 should be enough. So I'll just put that on like so. And that way you can also take them out, wash them, replace them if needed. And if the helmet's too tight for someone, you can take the paddings out until it fits and place them in size to suit. Helps to have some fingernails, I tell you. Comfy as. I do believe we have finished. How awesome is that? This Master Edition Stormtrooper was no easy feat, and honestly having you guys along for the ride made the tedious parts worth it. We've officially built an icon today. You know, looking at the Stormtrooper after an hour of building, every little detail we've gone over, reminds me of why we actually do this. We don't just build these for the shelf. We build them because for a moment we get to step out of our own lives and into the shoes or the armour of the characters that we've grown to love since we were kids. It's about bringing a piece of that into the real world. But the best part isn't the finished build, it's the community. It's knowing that there's a whole squad of us out there who gets it. It's knowing that we're the ones who see the beauty of the tiny details for the long hours that we put into it. When we put this on, we aren't just cosplayers, we're a part of something bigger. We're a part of a family that celebrates creativity, patience, and we share these love stories. So thank you for spending this hour with me, for being a part of this special corner of the world, and for letting me share this passion with you. For those that would like to see me build others, please let me know. I'm in the midst of building a Darth Vader in the printer behind me, and this is my first YouTube video, so it's probably very long, I know, but I will work on cutting it back. But again, awesome. I hope to see you on the next one.